In office dimly lit, suspiciously damp a flickering fluorescent light buzzes overhead like a dying mosquito with a grudge. Cubicles stretch endlessly in all directions like a maze designed by someone who hates joy. The air is thick with the scent of despair and stale coffee, a potent cocktail of corporate misery. Jerry, 30s, disheveled, carrying the aura of a man who once had dreams, tiptoes toward the boss's office. His shoes squeak against the linoleum, each step a tiny cry for help. In his trembling hands, he clutches a manila folder full of broken promises and unsubmitted reports held together by the last threads of his sanity. He pauses at the door, takes a deep breath that tastes of regret, and knocks. The sound echoes through the office like a death knell. Mer Grimsworth, 50s, unnaturally smooth skin, dead eyes, probably doesn't blink, looks up from his desk. The surface is a wasteland of corporate absurdity. Rubber ducks float in a sea of raw broccoli, while a framed picture of Grimsworth shaking hands with a goat looms ominously in the background. Jerry clears his throat, a sound reminiscent of a cat coughing up existential dread. Sir, if I could have a moment, I've been working here for... He pauses, fumbling through his notes like a man searching for the last crumbs of his dignity. Either 6 years or 14 centuries, depending on the HR records, I think it's time I asked for a raise. Mr. Grimsworth leans back in his chair, the leather creaking like the joints of a reanimated corpse. A raise, he intones, his voice as flat and lifeless as the office plants. Slowly, with the grace of a rusty drawbridge, he raises his eyebrows. It's a movement so deliberate, so unnaturally smooth. It's as if a sinister puppet master is manipulating his face from some unseen dimension of corporate hell. Jerry, sensing the creeping dread of a conversation spiraling into madness, attempts to clarify. No, not eyebrow inflation, salary inflation, money, currency. That thing we pretend matters while society burns. Mr. Grimsworth's stare intensifies, boring into Jerry's soul like a drill made of pure indifference. You mean hope, I thought we outlawed that last quarter. As if on cue, a pigeon flies in through the closed window, defying both physics and common sense. It's wearing a necktie, because in this office, even the birds conform to the dress code. With the precision of a feathered komokosi, it lands on the boss's desk, poops on a spreadsheet improving its content, and promptly dies. Neither Jerry nor Mr. Grimsworth react, as if random avian suicide is just another item on their daily agenda. Jerry, emboldened by the bird's sacrifice, or perhaps driven to the edge of sanity, presses on. Sir, I have 3 kids, 2 ex-wives, and a landlord who communicates exclusively through eviction notices written in goat blood. I need this raise. Mr. Grimsworth's face remains an impassive mask, like a wax figure left too close to a radiator. You should have considered that before being born into a capitalist meat grinder. But since you asked, with the slow, deliberate movement of a sloth on tranquilizers, he opens a drawer. The sound of grinding gears and distant screams emanates from its depths. After what feels like an eternity compressed into a few agonizing seconds, he extracts a single peanut. With all the ceremony of a funeral for hope, Mr. Grimsworth rolls the peanut across the desk. It leaves a trail of salt like tears crystallized by the heat of crushed dreams. Your raise. He announces, 1 peanut, salted. Of course, we're not animals. Jerry stares at the peanut, his expression a mixture of disbelief and the dawning realization that his life has become a cosmic joke. After a beat that stretches longer than his remaining will to live, he mutters, I'm allergic to peanuts. Mr. Grimsworth's lips twitch in what might be a smile. If smiles were made of pure malevolence, good, saves us on health insurance. Suddenly, a phone rings. The sound is muffled, teeny, and coming from inside the peanut. it screams a ringtone that sounds suspiciously like the wails of the damned, then abruptly stops. The silence that follows is heavy with absurdity. Jerry, having reached the summit of Mount Ridiculous and gazed into the abyss of corporate insanity, makes a decision. You know what? Keep the peanut, I'm going freelance. Mr. Grimsworth's eyebrows perform another slow, majestic ascent, huh? The traditional spiraling to madness. Welcome to self-employment, we have tote bags. As Jerry turns to leave, the universe, not content with the level of surrealism already achieved, decides to up the ante. The deceased pigeon on the desk twitches. Then rises like a feathered phoenix, it hops over to Jerry, somehow producing a cigarette from its plumage and offers it to him with a wing. Jerry, beyond questioning the logic of his reality, reaches for the cigarette. The moment his fingers touch it, the pigeon explodes in a puff of feathers and bureaucratic forms. He stumbles out of the office, leaving behind the peanut, the exploded pigeon, and the last shreds of his sanity as he walks through the maze of cubicles. The fluorescent lights flicker in what might be Morse code for "you're doomed." The sound of faint laughter and distant typing follows Jerry as he makes his way to the exit. It's the soundtrack of souls trapped in corporate purgatory. A melody of monotony punctuated by the occasional sob. As Jerry pushes open the door to freedom, or at least a different flavor of existential crisis, he can't help but wonder if the peanut phone is still ringing, if Mr. Grimsworth ever blinks, and whether the goat in the picture is running the company. The door swings shut behind him, cutting off the laughter and typing. For a moment, there's silence. Then, from somewhere in the bowels of the building, comes the distinct sound of a rubber duck squeaking in triumph, the end or maybe the beginning of a lawsuit, a mental breakdown, or a very strange startup involving psychic peanuts and resurrecting pigeons.